Hello everybody, welcome back to Commonwealth Flipper. I kind of did not want to make this video, but I feel like with all that I've been seeing out there, I think I am going to make this video. I've been seeing all kinds of doom and gloom, AI is going to destroy this, that, and everything else. And, you know, I kind of agree with some of it. I think there is some fact to it, but I'm going to go through all the things I've heard. This is what's going to happen. And then I'm going to look at the other side of the equation and think, you know what, really, what is going to happen? And who is being put in jeopardy, who isn't, who's going to make a whole ton of money, who's going to get wiped out, whatever. And then at the end of the video here, we'll make sure that I'll give you what I didn't want to do, which is suggestions. And if you've been watching me a long time, I kind of lead people along the garden path a little bit to make those incremental changes. What should you be doing in this brave new world of AI reselling? And a lot of people don't want to hear this at all, but that's kind of why I wanted to go through it. So we'll look at it in three phases: what people are saying, what's likely to happen, what could possibly happen, and what should we do about it. And I also have some sales from when I was away on my little vacation, and we'll go over those quickly at the end as well, because I'm kind of OCD and I got to make sure every single sale for the last 6 years has been on this channel. So we got to keep that up. So we're going to divide this video up into two segments here. The first one is about AI and about this topic. And if you watch other channels other than me, you have seen quite a bit about it lately. We talk about it on the podcast a lot. It's good to look into the future. You know, I'm a history geek. I've been a history student my whole life. I've been a history teacher my whole life. I love it. And I liken this to kind of the Industrial Revolution, where you had something, not necessarily a particular invention like an automobile, but something so massive that it changes everything. I think that AI is one of those type of things. I know that it is, or will be. And so the internal combustion engine, whether you had, the steam engine, you had, fossil fuels, whatever it is, and then you started to see it applied to different segments of culture, society, of definitely economics, undoubtedly. And that's kind of what we're talking about here. And those applications turned out in different ways in different marketplaces. So, obviously the automobile took that, the train, all these different applications of the internal combustion engine into manufacturing, into everything. I used to tell my students, the Industrial Revolution, look around you, right? The Columbian Exchange really changed everything as well. That's one of the other kind of milestones in history. You could look at the printing press as well, as far as a particular invention that really changed everything. And then going back, you got to go to farming starting kind of thing, as opposed to hunting and gathering or whatever. Those are the major milestones. I think what you're seeing right now is another one of those on its opening stages. I used to tell my students all the time, none of us would be here without the invention of farming. None of us would be here in the New World without the Columbian Exchange, with some maybe exception, not in my classroom. And nothing around us would be here. I mean, every single thing here is a result of the Industrial Revolution. AI is that type of game changer. There's no doubt. However, I do think there's a little bit of overreaction and exaggeration in certain areas that I want to get into today. So last week when I was on vacation, I started taking a little list, and the old coach and teacher in me, and started writing down all of the things I was hearing about it. A lot of them are contradictory, so they can't possibly both be true. And I wrote a little list, so I'm going to share that with you here. The end of thrifting, completely the end of thrifting as we know it. Everyone will be a reseller. Everybody's going to be a reseller because of this technology. I guess because of the ease of it. The marketplace will be flooded. Okay. AI picture analysis will level the playing field for everybody. There will be no advantage to having knowledge whatsoever. Reselling is over because of AI. It's over. It's going to be done. Well, if that's the case, then everyone can't be a reseller because it's over. And the marketplace can't be flooded either. That's stupid to me. Small-time resellers are done. Only the big-time players will be left. eBay goes out of business completely. I'm thinking, all these things can't possibly be true, because if one is true, the other can't be true. It's basic logic. There's actually more. I'm going to leave it at that for right now. So I've already said that I think this is a game changer. There's no doubt about it. And I've also said that these things are ridiculous. So there's got to be some middle ground here. I want to pick apart each one, but I also want to look at things that I think you will begin to see more and more of. Some of this stuff's already started to happen. You know, the idea, let me just look at one of them here as I wrote it down. AI picture analysis levels the playing field. Look, we've already seen that in its infant stages, Google search, eBay lens, and whatever. Of course, everything's getting better at that. You've already seen a leveling of the field. I've talked about it before to some degree. But there are still major advantages to having the knowledge up here as opposed to at your fingertips. I do think that that will continue to level over time, but those who are in the game now, who know what they're doing, the speed factor will help you. The intricacies of reselling will still help you. I think there will be, in this intermediate stage, there will be a lot of money to be made, and a lot of people will fit into this because they're going to take advantage of those things because of the knowledge they already have, which will enable them when the playing field does get a little bit more level to already be in place to take advantage of it. Now, the first one I said, the end of thrifting, I have been hinting at this for quite a while. Let's face it, thrifting has changed. And by the way, side note, for those folks who think it's changed because of people like me, you ignore history. You don't understand that businesses are in money to make money. People look at my thumbnails and title and think I'm always ripping on the thrift stores and whatever. I'm actually using those thumbnails and titles to get people to listen for other reasons, right? Obviously, I make money off of the videos. But it's to get the folks who do depend on thrifting. I think across the country for over a decade now, you've seen different thrifting markets change drastically, and it's become more and more difficult in most places. Some parts of it has made it easier. Places with the bins, for instance, I think you'll see changes there. And when I say things like, you know, I don't say thrifting is over forever. It's not. It's not going to be over forever. It might shift. Some of the thrifting might go online. It already has. Some of the, live selling might be the new Goodwill shopping for some people. And so there are changes like that. The mom and pops will change as well. Some of them will, some of them won't for different reasons that I don't really want to get into. But part of it is taxation and the 1099 and all that. We'll talk about that later. But it is definitely changing. And for those of you who still live in places in this country where thrifting is absolutely amazing, it will eventually hit you in different ways there as well. This is the kind of change I think is going to come because of AI technologies, because these thrift stores, of course, Goodwill, they should be trying to make all the money that they can make in order to further their goals. Same with Salvation Army, same with DI, same with anybody you want to mention. Same with mom and pops. But we don't begrudge that to anybody. So we've got to figure out where we fit into this. But the software, the technology, the applications of AI they have already and are going to continue to hit these major thrifting brands. There's no doubt in my mind, and it will be harder, not impossible, harder to thrift for a living. So while I'm not the sky is falling as far as the thrifting part, I do think that that will have a major impact, especially in that area in the early stages of all of this that's going to unfold. I'm not going to pretend to know I know the future here, but there are just some things you can piece together and think, okay, where do I position myself in order to be able to do things the way I still enjoy them, want them, and still be able to be profitable. And this applies to so many people differently in different ways. There's probably some very small-time resellers out there. I was like, probably thinking to themselves already, oh, just forget it all. No, don't forget it all. There will be a place for small-time thrifters. And there will be a place for big-time thrifters. And for those big-time thrifters to grow. And for those small-time thrifters to grow. It's just a matter of you got to figure out where you want to go and figure out how to best position yourself and then still adapt to the changes that we don't know are coming yet. And some things are pretty evident and some things still have a ways to go. So everyone will be a reseller. This is the one I have because it's easy. This one is the one I have the biggest problem with. I don't believe that's the case. I also want to give you a bigger overview here. I still believe what I've always said. Secondhand markets are growing and AI will not stop that. It will increase that, in my opinion. Will there be more resellers? I think it's yet to be seen. I actually think not. I know that may be controversial, but I think not. And the big player in this is the government and the 1099. If it does truly go to $600, you're going to see people who simply don't want to deal with that hurdle. I know them. I know a lot of them. I spoke to one just this last weekend that I'm like, this guy sounds like he don't want to pay his taxes, which is exactly what the case was. And there will still be people. There are people who make so much money, it is absolutely a waste of time and energy for them to be a reseller, even if they have a $200 item sitting in their house. It is not worth their time. Ask the folks out there in the Silicon Valley, out in California, what they see thrown away every day. There will be people who have to move, who have to sell an estate, who have to get rid of tangible property. This is not going away. It is growing. So position yourself in a way, even if you're like me, I don't like change, I don't like to adapt, I don't like technology, I hate it. But you can still figure out a way where you fit. There's a criticism here I partly agree with as well. There's quite a few actually that I partly agree with. It'll be a flooded marketplace. Yes, if technology increases to the point where everything can be systematic, and the next one on here was AI is going to assist so much in the listing process, it will increase the volume of what is listed, and it will be a flooded marketplace. Okay, I can actually see that, but that's going to take capital. That's not going to be for everybody, me and you and mom and pop. It will be to some degree, but it won't be on the industrial scale like it could be for a thrift store, for instance. And if you do see that, now I think there's a counteraction to it, which is the growth of secondary markets. I think that's going to counterbalance if somebody wants to call it a flooded marketplace. The ease in listing an item is going to go down. It's not going to go up. The automation in listing an item is going to go up. I have zero doubt about that. The people who adopt these ways, they may have to pay for them. They may have to go to secondary businesses who will, there's a dog, cooperate with the big marketplaces. That's all very true, and I think it's coming. I think a lot of it is exciting for us because a lot of us don't like to do the listing process, and I think that part of that will be hugely beneficial. But at the same time, if it does result in more items being out there in the marketplace, supply and demand might change. Demand might go up, but the supply may go up quicker. There may be lower prices in store for certain items. So I can definitely see that argument. And then it's like, okay, so how do you make more money? Do you have to list more items? Do you have to be more selective in what you take, pay more attention to ASP, pay more attention to sell-through rate? Those are the things that are yet to be seen, but likely so. There are some folks who think that AI will completely take over the listing process other than a picture or a beginning, or the picture will turn into a video and all this stuff will be automated. A lot of it scares us that we have to learn all these new things. I think in the early stages there will be some who do that and need to do that, and then eventually that stuff will be streamlined. It's like my mother-in-law, right? You know, if she had to learn the ins and outs of coding and all the different stuff in order to do emails, she wouldn't. But eventually that stuff becomes marketable to the masses because of its ease of use. And the marketplaces themselves will adopt those technologies to kind of make the entire process easier. I don't think we're anywhere near a point where AI does everything for you. I don't know, we might get there, but we're not near it yet. It's going to still take certain amounts of effort to get items listed, and those hurdles are going to still keep massive amounts of people out of the marketplace. I do think because of that, you will see, especially younger people, less likely to even do the thing that I love, which is have a garage sale, because the ease of it might keep them from selling stuff off quickly unless there's a need for it. So there's a possibility. That kind of hurts my feelings because I think garage sales will continue on for multiple reasons, including that 1099 reason. But there's still a shipping process that is a hurdle for a lot of folks. I don't think you're going to see a flood of people into the marketplace for those reasons. There may be other economic reasons though. I mean, looking way into the future here, if AI really does cut into, and it's already cut into a lot of professions and jobs and negated quite a few things, you know, degrees that people have got, and you've seen it kind of acutely. You're seeing it in social media, which is something I'm in, and I think that will there'll be two trajectories for social media, real and AI, but it will certainly take up some of that marketplace and market share and appeal to different people. But just let's take a graphic designer, for instance. Whew. If that's what you've done your whole life, it's like, wow, that's a tough one. People who used to make cartoons for the, Disney stuff or for the newspaper or whatever. I mean, that kind of stuff is in serious jeopardy. There are other things. I mean, I hear people say, well, I just had AI diagnose me, which I'm not suggesting, by the way. What my ailments, what my problems are and whatever. And they're like, well, why do we need all these doctors and why do we need whatever? Okay. So there's all kinds of things like that might displace certain labor markets, and that might push people into the secondary markets and stuff like that. All those arguments are fine and they're somewhat logical. I get it. I still don't see. Look at the niche of reselling on social media. It's, I don't know, relatively small compared to so much else. I don't think you have, I know you have a segment of society that will never jump in this arena. They just won't. The next one is just absurd to me, but I've heard it multiple times. Reselling is about to be over because of AI. And I just don't understand that logic whatsoever. It makes no sense. And certainly the top things can't be true if the bottom one is true. I don't see that. I've said before, there's only one real reason that would ever happen, and that would be in such an economic and social state that the government put regulations where it wasn't possible. And I don't see that anywhere in the near future as well. Small-time resellers are over. I've already talked about that. I don't see that. eBay goes out of business. I definitely don't see that. Although I do want to mention one thing. There are other marketplaces that are set up for AI to, how do I say this? Not to benefit better from AI than, say, eBay. I think that most companies realize that they better make some of these changes right now, and some of them are a little bit behind the ball. Let me give you an example here. You go to Amazon, there's not 8 bazillion different pictures of the same item, there's one. They're not selling as many secondary items. You have to do things a certain way. Let's take a VCR, for instance. You might be able to sell a VCR on eBay, listed, tested, has a remote, has an extra VHS in it and whatever. And so to take a picture and to have a generic listing just be done for you or whatever, that is possible, but there's so many variations. Take a plush. This plush has a little mark on it here, or the date is a little bit different or whatever. And so I don't know that we're at the point where the secondary markets, used goods and stuff like that, is going to completely be automated into listings where you're having to put out prices, maybe mandatory prices on certain things, or you're not going to sell this item, or they're being all put into a bin in the buy box and all that stuff. So that stuff to me is yet to be seen, how they integrate the AI into their system itself. But I don't see AI being so confusing to people, and that stuff's confusing me, that it causes people to get out of it. And certainly to this point, I don't think it's going to shut down eBay. Every business goes out of business. Okay, I hear the example of Sears and all the different stuff, and Blockbuster and whatever. But I think eBay's got long life to go. And I think if they do things right, I think they could grow it massively. So I don't buy into the fact that AI is going to put eBay out of business. I don't see that at all. I do see other marketplaces being earlier adopters of certain things and growing their market share. Will they be able to compete at that kind of level or grow bigger? Maybe, very possibly. We talked about the live selling aspect of it as well. We'll probably talk about that a little bit later, but let me look at some of the things I wrote down and if you've watched me, y'all, I have slowly been making some of these changes. Not in the AI world. I will if I need to. But I firmly believe that a lot of this stuff's going to come to us in forms that we can use, as opposed to us having to learn all of it. Now, in social media, that may be a different story. But in reselling, I think it's going to have to come to the marketplace, as opposed to people having to learn different skills in a majorly different way. There will be skills, especially in sourcing, that can be beneficial, just like all of us have slowly but surely adopted the idea, hey, I'm at a yard sale and I click on this item and I find the value and whatever, and how you can do that kind of stuff. There are going to be huge advantages for people who can use those skills and level that playing field in areas that they don't know. I think I'm gonna take my clipboard out here outside really quick and finish up the last of it, which is what should you focus on going forward. I think a lot of people may be focusing on the wrong thing, which is the technology itself, although that's a part of it. I think that, like I said, I think a lot of that stuff will come to us. It may come with a cost, but it will come to us. If you've watched me, you've seen that my subtle changes have been in the sourcing side. And I might even throw this, I don't know, I'll put it in the next video, or this one, just a pick that I did today, which is something I really never would have done before. I didn't do very many private picks. Making connections, little things, you know, people talk about a business card and putting a sign on your car, or, you know, make sure people know what you do, and those kind of things work. They definitely work. But I don't know that it's going to be the answer alone, but I can certainly say that those kind of things are going to be beneficial. You know, I got this shed not too long ago, a couple years ago at this point, because I wanted to expand my business. And the more I look at this, the one thing well, there's a lot of things. I'm getting off topic from sourcing. I want to get back to that, but I think that the storage side of it and the processing side of it and the shipping side of it is what is going to make some people stand apart from others. Also, customer service, the ability to niche down into a marketplace and to gain a buyership or a following on social media. I think those things are key for some people, but not for everybody. It's one of the reasons on the selling side of it that we decided to go down the road of niched down marketplaces, because there will be people out there who don't want to niche down their reselling, but they can enter into the niche down marketplace. That's why we have polish and brush and dibbed it threads and dibbed it cards. They can enter into a marketplace that they're not experts on and have a built-in audience for that particular item. Live selling allows that more right now than eBay, although some people capitalize on it on eBay as well. The reason I mentioned that side of it is to tie into the sourcing side of it. So, you know, to have the ability to do the things I just talked about is going to open up sourcing opportunities. There are people out there who want to get rid of massive quantities of items as opposed to going and picking a garage sale. And if you don't have the right tools in your tool belt, it makes it more difficult to do those type of sourcing deals. Now, I don't think garage sales are going anywhere. So I think that I have been using those garage sales to make connections. If you've seen my picker channel, and you haven't seen them all yet, they haven't all come out yet, there has been now 5 different private picks that have resulted from just simply making the connections. That's very small scale. I'm small potatoes, y'all. Some of these folks out there, they've created just networks of connections, and they know people, and they know the rack has, they know all the wholesale and all those things. I think those things are not appealing to some people, but doing what I've been doing is very appealing. I've found it just as satisfying as it is going out to garage sales and picking one-offs or buying, you know, a whole table or whatever, because it's still a treasure hunt to me. And now the treasure hunt has turned from just picking the cool items at garage sales to, can I make a connection that is going to lead me to something more? And that's been fun as heck for me. And I think a lot of people have that personality like I do. Some don't. And so you may be in a tighter network of people. You know, don't be afraid. Tell your family, look, there's going to be people who don't want to enter into the reselling business, like I said before, for multiple reasons. So to have your own little network where people in your network know that you do this and you're willing to pay for these items at a certain rate in order to make money, that is still something that is going to be very, very prevalent long into the future, in my opinion. And I also, like I said, I don't think garage sales are going anywhere. You probably will see a slight increase like you have over the last few years in people asking way too much, in my opinion, for things at garage sales. I just went to a garage sale this Saturday, and I was talking to the guy. He asked me about my camera, and I told him what I do and whatever. And he's like, so you buy this stuff and resell it and whatever? I was like, yeah. And I was looking at the time, I was looking at a Lego set. I don't know what it was. And it was $30. And I'm like, So I'm like, I'll take this opportunity to look this $30 Lego set up. And I just started talking to them. They're like, well, how much is it worth? Or how do you find out, or whatever? Because the lady's like, I know I bought it on Amazon for $33. I'm like, okay. And of course it was free shipping, Prime or whatever. And I was like, well, I usually look on eBay because I'm an eBay seller, and I looked it up and I could get it for $32.99 shipped to my house. And she says, well, oh look, we're right on the money then. I'm like, not at a yard sale, you're not. I wasn't rude at all, don't get me wrong. I'm like, you're not on the money at a yard sale. And they started asking me questions. I'm like, you know, and she asked, well, what would you pay for it? Because it was later in the day at a community sale that had tons of people in the morning. Every other sale I went to there was blank spots all over the place except for their sale. They still had tons of stuff and they didn't act very happy. And I'm like, I said, honestly, I said, if I were to make you an offer on this, I would say $8. That and honestly, I'm thinking in my head, I'm thinking, I don't think I want to. Would you pay $8 for a $32.99 item, free ship? That you got to ship, you got to pay the fees, and then so I started explaining that and whatever, and they're like, well, you're not our buyer then. And I said, no, I said I wasn't actually making an offer. I knew I wasn't your buyer. It was evident. And they're like, well, you're not our buyer. We're not going to give it to you for $8. I'm like, I didn't ask. But that's the kind of mentality if they see the value somewhere else. So that really opens up arbitrage. So another opportunity, and I know I say this and people think I'm shilling and whatever, but I don't care. Some people are doing it right now, and they certainly do it in the wintertime when there's not as much ample opportunity for the traditional sourcing methods that most of us use. You know, most of us aren't going to go on 600-mile road trips to buy out a store or whatever. And there's a place for that. I'm not criticizing that. You know, I said that live selling, buying live sourcing is a legitimate opportunity. It will become, for some people, the new thrift store. It already has. And the thrift stores are literally live selling. They can get a little bit more. They can clear out more inventory quicker. They can probably pay less labor costs. They certainly pay less in leases if they don't own the building or they don't have to build a building. And I really do think that for some people, especially thrifters out there, live selling may become it's part of the reason I started Commons, y'all. I know it sounds like a shill. I don't really care. I've explained all this before in the past. There is an opportunity, and it's not, obviously my marketplace isn't perfect yet, whatever, but I'm betting on the future in ways that I think things will unfold. I could be wrong, and that's fine, but you never, faint heart never won fair lady. I honestly think that live selling will become the new thrifting. I think it already has in many ways. Live selling has so much growth in front of it. And for live selling to work, there needs to be an eBay, in my opinion, especially for resellers. There could be a certain amount of people who want to buy things because they want them for themselves or they're collectors or whatever. But at some point, the reseller amount of resellers in the live selling space as buyers, they have to be satisfied with what they can make, which means that there has to be a robust buy it now marketplace. And I think you will see that continue to grow as well, because there's a huge segment of the population who is not going to sit and watch a show for an item that they want. They're going to go find it quickly because time is money and they make a lot more money doing something else. So you're not going to hear me say that eBay's over and whatnot, it's going to take over. It's not. It's going to be a different world of arbitrage than we already have, but it is still going to be a world of arbitrage, and there will still be so many opportunities. There will be more opportunities, in my opinion, than ever before for those who take the time to make connections, who take time to explore other options for sourcing, and to still do what you do. Why quit something that's working, right? If you're in a thrifting area that has still got great thrifting prices and you got a great thrift store, then thrift it, for goodness sake. Thrift it forever, as long as it's profitable for you and you enjoy it. So sometimes hedging your bets in small ways will pay off in the long run. And so if you've always been opposed to, say, live selling, go and watch and whatnot, or on our Debunking marketplace or whatever, if you've always been opposed to that, were you always opposed to, say, going to an auction and watching an auction take place? Because it's really the same thing. One's digital, one's the other now. Obviously, there's cost in shipping, and then the middleman and the costs keep growing, and then is it profitable when you put it on its final arbitrage, its final marketplace, if you will? And so people kind of shy away from it. But the innovations in live selling, like I talked about with our Debunking marketplaces, where there's progressive shipping and you can work with people for shipping and you can refund the shipping and you can send massive quantities. I did a record deal where I know when I sell those off, somebody's going to end up with 80 of those things, and they're going to pay next to nothing in shipping compared to buying them on a different marketplace. I actually walked back there to talk about that trailer, because that was one of the things where I had an immediate purpose and a long-term purpose. I bought a second trailer now that's been making me money, not always with me, but it's been making me money. And I think that those kind of things are going to be beneficial for those who have the ability and the capital to do them, and to have bigger buyouts, to source on the road, do whatever. Not for everybody, obviously. But for me, that was an investment I wanted to make. Another space, this second space out here, has made the leap to doing both live selling and eBay, which, by the way, I'll give you the numbers, I think, on the next episode. I'm fairly happy with what I see so far for the numbers for June. And June, what am we in? July, May, the May numbers. What am I talking about? I know we're a little late, but I don't think I ever gave, did I ever give the May numbers? I don't know if I did or not. I'll have to go check my calendar. But with our goal of selling $250,000 this year. So for those of you who want to stay in the game, I think those things are key. I've toyed with the idea of a second, because my internet stinks so bad, a second, I can't talk either, a second shipping area. I'd like to use an area in my basement that I can't currently use for that, and I still want my 80s cave because I want it. But I think those who have the ability to use space around their home for those things will benefit. There are some people who can't, and some people who have already gone out and got spaces, betting on the future and betting on themselves. I don't think I want to do that. However, you may see one more change in my backyard. I mean, look at all that space I got over there, right? And all the people that said you should have put up a giant metal building to begin with. I didn't need one, I didn't want one, and it could happen depending on how things go, but I need to position myself to get to that point. I like what I've done. I'm happy with what I've done. I wouldn't have changed it at all. Well, I might have made one or two little changes here or there, but I think space will be key, and processing will be key. Space to not only be able to make the buyouts, to make the big purchases, and to still continue to get those great, amazing deals at garage sales that really kind of pad everything. That's where most of our growth has been. Not in the private picks, but still out there at the garage sales, making what we used to and even more, getting better at it. So I just think there's so much opportunity. If you make minor changes and position yourself well, especially in the tax area, where you are keeping track of everything there. There's another show right there, my Reseller, Genie, code Commonwealth, 15% off first month. Those people will survive and thrive, and a lot of you who are watching are already those people. You just have to scale it as things change, because there will be people who drop out of this game whatsoever because they're fed up, or they're tired, or they're unwilling to make the minor, I think it'll be minor adjustments to this game. The sourcing changes, the add-on sources to what you already do. There will be people who quit, there's no doubt, and that is going to be beneficial for you and for me. So I would say a couple things to close out. Some of this may be scary to some people. I'm trying not to make it scary, because a lot of what I see out there is scary to people who depend on this income. I would say if you just want to begin with something really small, maybe you're the person out there who doesn't really like to make those connections. You don't want to go out. Hey, I see my daughter. She's out here walking. Now she's like, she saw me. She's like, hello. I don't know what she's doing. But if you're that person who's kind of an introvert, maybe you just make those small little connections, you know, in your own little inner circle, and talk to people and ask them a simple question. Hey, do you donate to the Goodwill, for instance? Do you know, what do you do with the stuff you don't want anymore? Just ask them that. You don't even have to say anything. And if they say something that leads to a bigger conversation, say, hey, I would like, this is my job, this is how I make extra money, this is, you know, how I fund my retirement, whatever it is. This is how I want to put my kids through school. This is my vacation money. I would love to have access to that stuff. And those kind of little easy things might get you, and then you might not have success, by the way. You might fail 50 times before you have success. Those little tiny things might encourage you to continue to grow. And on the customer service side, now I'm not just talking about selling, the customer service side. I'm talking about buying as well. You got to create partnerships with people, even at garage sales. You know, it can lead to more things to buy. I did it just the other day. I asked a guy for, at the end of the sale, his wife sold me some stuff, and I said, hey, do you got any hats? I look like a hat guy. He had a hat on. He's like, yeah, I got a bunch of these hats. And he went inside and got a bunch of hats out for me. And I bought every single one of them. And they weren't great, but they're multi-quantity and whatever. And I was like, shoot. You know, if I wouldn't have had the ability to already have a nice conversation with his wife and already have a few sales, that wouldn't have happened. So there's little tiny things like that that can really set you apart and get you on a trajectory of growth, or maybe not even growth, maybe just a trajectory that allows you to continue to do this for much longer than some people think, because of the big bad AI wolf out there. By the way, this is not a commentary on AI for all of culture and society. There are a lot of arguments to be made out there, and we all have a lot of opinions on it, and that's fine. I'm just kind of trying to tamp down the concerns and woes out there of how the world is going to end for all of us resellers. I'm actually going to talk in the next video about the numbers for the month of May and tell you where our progress is for what our goals are. And we are ambitious. We want to grow eBay. We want to grow our static sales. And because of some of the things I've been talking about, we want to also grow the live selling platforms as well. And just to give you a little snapshot right here, I went on vacation. Y'all, by the way, thank y'all for the folks who have been keeping track of me. My health has not been great over the last few weeks. I am glad to report I'm feeling much, much, much better. Still a few challenges, but still way better than I was. And look at these numbers here, y'all. This is when I was away from the last video. The last video was like a Q&A thing. We were on the road. Jess has been amazing, by the way. I know a lot of people don't have that luxury, and she's been able to, she agreed, you know, when we're gone, because she's leaving on vacation for a while too, that she would come in and do the shipping. And we obviously weren't doing live selling. She did a little prep for some live sales, but she also got stuck with some big items that sold while I was gone. So thank you to Jess for doing that. I don't know how many hours you put in here, but there was a bunch that sold. Look at these days when I was gone, not even here in the sales. Had to change my hands here so I can use this mouse. $562, $289. I left on a Thursday, came back on a Friday night. $285, $849. What else? $423. These are daily totals. $453. They're as good as a week when we're here. $254, $507. I mean, the last day before we got back wasn't too great. $263, but that, you know, those are pretty darn good days for us. I mean, that's not a $500 average, but it's darn near close. And if we could do that, oh my goodness, that would be, while I'm gone, that would be huge. I mean, to sell $150,000 on eBay, what would the average need to be? I just did the math, so that's $410 a day. And I think we're really right about on that number while I was gone and not even working. So thank you to Jess. We had a lot of big sales. Let me go over those real quick. By the way, that translates to about $12,300 a month. Star Wars Lucasfilm R2-D2 cooler, $199 plus shipping. Sonic Adventure 2 Battle Manual only, just the Battle Manual, $24 plus shipping. G.I. Joe Bazooka, Zap Bazooka Soldier, missing arm, $48.71 plus shipping. Tiva sandals, they're all plus shipping unless I tell you otherwise. How's that? That'll make all you people happy out there that complain. Tiva sandals, $24 plus shipping. Birthday cake banner flag, $671. Barbie, here's a viewer one here. 1960s Barbie Ken Allen doll. That one sold for $79 plus shipping. That also had the case with it. Love watching your videos when working on posting my own eBay listings and working around the house. Thanks for all your content and tips, even part-time resellers like me. Saw your Barbie case sale on this morning's video, so I had to check it out. And excited to have it in my Barbie collection. Catherine, thank you. Harley-Davidson women's genuine leather vest, $41.21. Vintage Mattel preschool Wonder Blocks, $46.95 plus shipping. Miller Lite beer inflatable blow-up bat and baseball, $11.25 plus shipping. Sealed Think Geek, Five Nights at Freddy's 3-piece pizza kit. This one's cool. $46.95 plus shipping. $19.95 plus shipping. Julep Take a Breather and Be Strong Oxygen Nail Treatment. That was a pretty good one. Balto, I remember this buy down at the 100 mile sale. Actually, was it the 100 mile sale? I think it was. Balto Muck Polar Bear. This one was cool. I really liked it. I think I paid $1 for it. $35.95 plus shipping. Atlanta Motor Speedway flag from Cracker Barrel. $12.71 plus shipping. Maisto Harley Davidson piece. You'll see this on an upcoming video. I usually avoid these like the plague, but I did a buyout. $17.05 plus shipping. Another Five Nights at Freddy's. $46.95 plus shipping. New World Translation of the Bible. $11.21 plus shipping. Sirocco, I said I wouldn't do that, but I'm doing it anyways. It's habit. Sirocco Gold Medal Seagulls in Flight. $119.95 plus shipping. That one says repeat buyer, Caddy Corner Shop. Hi, Kevin, long-time viewer. Uh-oh, there it is. I've been watching this particular listing for some time. I purchased your smaller brass birds. You bought those too. Thank you. And I decided it's time I need these as well. My grandma had these hanging in their dining room where I hold many fond memories. That is awesome. That's kind of why we do this. I love it. Well, that and the money. Thank you for helping bring those old memories to life. So you can see there's some big items. Those things are huge. Nordic Track replacement skis, $39.95 plus shipping. Pittsburgh Steelers hat, 5-time Super Bowl champs, $22.95 plus shipping. A Jimmy Big Mouth Billy Bass, Singing Fish, $29.95 plus shipping. Blanco Honey Amber 12-inch round dish, $37.46 plus shipping. IGK, see, we had a lot of sales, and we put a lot on the last video while I was gone. Hydrating Hair Balm, Anti-Frizz, $30 plus shipping. Is that 2? Quantity 2. And Nike Polo shirt. And that one went, I was $11.96 plus shipping. Hope you feel better soon, Kevin. Random question. If the economy stock market does continue to slow down, stock market is not really slowing down, but I hear you. I mean, it did for a while, but it's kind of recovered so far. We'll see. Like I said, predictions of the future are a little bit tough. Do you think that eBay can somehow do much better in the same time of a slowdown? Yeah, I think there are times in the past where there's an economic slowdown and it affects different sides of the marketplace more than others. eBay is pretty resilient in that fact, so I would say yes. Inaman Fleet, here we go. Jay Freeman, thank you. Bought an Inaman from us. Hope it gets things moving for you. Fisher Price Sesame Street House figures. Big Bird, Ernie, and Oscar. $15.95 plus shipping. This is an awesome sale. I wish I was here to show it to you. Vintage Donkey Kong Jr. PVC figure. $39 plus shipping. Vancouver Grizzlies. Mike Bibby jersey. This one's been listed forever. $33.71 plus shipping. Animal Alley Tiger Plush. $14.46 plus shipping. Tupperware toys. They finally sold Death Pile Picker. $14.96 plus shipping. Lego Minecraft Ruined Portal new in box, $24.95 plus shipping. Another Julep oxygen nail treatment sold $18.53 plus shipping. Jeff Green Looney Tunes Daffy Duck, $35 plus shipping. And last but not least, 1974 accessories for the Fisher Price Play Castle. Some of the accessories, $21.95 plus shipping. Y'all know today, the last video and then today's video is very, very different than the past. I'm sure a lot of things I said will probably tick some people off, and that's okay. But we'll be back to a normal style video next time, and that's something I'm looking forward to. I'm going to give, since we're at the end of the video, reward you folks who watched a little longer, a preview of something. We are giving this boxed NES system away on Dibd.com. And I don't have a date yet. I haven't set up the show or the whole day's events, but that is coming soon. Go check it out. And I'll talk more about my little LP buy, huge LP buy. We're going to sell those live over there. I decided we've got so much eBay inventory stuff to list. We're going to keep trying to grow both live selling and help other live sellers get a foothold for those who desire to do it over there. And should be super fun. I'm excited to give this away. And I am excited to be selling a bunch of great, I don't know how much, my guess is there's $5,000 in LPs. If I individually listed them on eBay, we're going to sell them all for $1. Start at $1 a piece. Should be fun over there. Go check it out on Dibd.com. And listen, if you're like me and you don't like change and you want to fight it and you want to, because that is my natural instinct. I wish things would stay the same forever. And that way I know I could just keep doing what I know I love instead of being afraid of the future. But I would just take a deep breath and make one move in the direction that might help you prolong what you really, really love to do and position yourself to have a wonderful time making a little extra income for yourself. So anyway, thank you all very much. No kids in this video. We'll get them back in the regular one soon, and we appreciate you, and thanks for the concern about my health, and I can't wait to see you next.